Tonight, let the day loosen its grip. If your mind has been carrying lists and deadlines, unread messages and half-finished thoughts, you don't have to solve any of them here. For the next while, you can rest inside a story, one that moves as slowly as water and as gently as wind through reeds. Imagine that you are standing in an ancient marshland at the meeting place of two rivers. The air is mild, the light is low and kind, the color of honey poured into tea. A thin veil of mist drifts above warm mud, turning the world soft around the edges. Listen for the smallest sounds. A quiet ribbon of water slides between reeds. Somewhere deeper in the grass, a bird makes one sleepy call, then goes silent again. The reeds answer with a faint hush, like 1,000 little brushes sweeping the air. Nothing rushes. Nothing demands. Even the sky seems unhurried, settling into night as if it has all the time in the world. As you breathe in, you can almost taste the damp sweetness of the marsh. As you breathe out, your shoulders sink a little, as though the soft ground itself is taking some weight from you, in and out. Slow, even easy. Here, history arrives quietly. Somewhere beyond the reeds, a distant line of higher ground holds the faint suggestion of walls. Not a city as you know it, not yet. More like an idea beginning to take shape, an idea made of mud brick, lantern glow, and the work of hands. And there is something else too, a feeling, a small, gentle thread of curiosity. Who first stood in this warm silt and looked up at the same sky, you know, the same moon that still travels in silence? Who decided to measure seasons and water levels, to trace canals through the earth, to press a mark into clay so a thought could live longer than a breath? If you follow the riverbank slowly, unhurriedly, you begin to hear a different sound beneath the reeds and water. A soft scratch, not loud, not sharp, just a whispering texture like dry grass against paper. You walk toward it, and the marsh gives way to a settlement that feels calm and familiar, as though it has always belonged here. Low houses of sun-warmed brick, narrow paths, a canal that catches the last light and holds it like a ribbon of bronze. In the center, rising with quiet confidence, stands a stepped temple mound, what later generations would call a ziggurat. It doesn't seem boastful, it simply stands there as steady as a hill made by people who wanted to place their prayers closer to the wind. Oil lamps blink in doorways. Their light is golden and soft, never harsh. Shadows move slowly on walls, as if even darkness has learned to be gentle. And in one small room, tucked away from the open air, the scratching sound becomes clearer. You step inside. The room is warm, lit by a single clay lamp. The flame trembles in a tiny bowl of oil, making the walls breathe with light. The air smells faintly of smoke, earth, and something green. Reeds, freshly cut. A scribe sits at a low table, not hurried, not tense, simply attentive, like someone listening to the world. In front of them rests a small tablet of clay, still damp, still pliable. The scribe holds a reed stylus, and when its tip presses into the clay, it leaves a neat wedge-shaped mark. One, then another, tiny angles and lines repeated with calm precision, cuneiform. And the first time you see it, it looks like a pattern of small footsteps, like birds walked across wet ground and decided to leave behind a message. The scribe pauses now and then, as if to hear the rhythm of their own hand. Press, lift, press, lift. The sound is soothing, a quiet, steady ASMR of history. You can let that sound become your anchor. Press, lift, press, lift. If your thoughts drift, you can always come back. to that gentle rhythm the way you come back to your breath. On another shelf there are more tablets, stacked carefully like sleepy loaves of bread, cooling after baking. Each one holds something ordinary and precious, an inventory of grain, a record of sheep, a note about canal repairs, a small reminder of who owes whom a jar of beer. This is what civilization feels like up close, not grand speeches, not marble statues, just careful records and the quiet agreement that tomorrow matters. The scribe's fingers are stained with clay, their posture is relaxed. The lamp's light makes their world small and safe, and for a moment, your own world can feel that way too. In the corner of the room, a simple water clock drips steadily into a basin. Not because anyone is rushing, but because someone once noticed that drops can be counted. That time can be held gently, like water in cupped hands. Here, they count in a way that still lives inside your day. 60, a number that returns again and again, like footsteps around a courtyard, like beads through fingers, like breaths as you settle into sleep. 60 seconds, 60 minutes. The scribe does not explain this to you with lectures, they simply write, and the writing itself carries the memory. A way of measuring the world that is patient, circular, repeating. And as you watch the stylus move, you begin to sense why this place feels so strangely familiar. Because you too spend your life trying to hold time, trying to make it behave, trying to fit it into boxes and calendars, into appointments and alarms. But here, time is not a weapon, it is a rhythm, a river that can be listened to. The scribe reaches for a different tablet, older, drier, darker at the edges. It has been handled many times, warmed by palms and recooled by night air. When they set it on the table, a small puff of clay dust rises and drifts in the lamplight like tiny stars. This tablet is not about grain or sheep. It is about kings. A list of names that feels like a long hallway, each doorway opening to a different lifetime. The scribe traces one line with the stylus tip, not pressing, just touching as if greeting the marks. There is a phrase that appears in these old records, whispered through generations. A way of speaking that sounds like poetry and administration at once. That authority came down into the world, and that the first seats of rule were set in the oldest cities by the water. The scribe's eyes soften as they read, and you realize this is not the kind of reading you do on a bright screen. This is reading by flame, by breath, by silence. Some of the reigns in this old list are not measured like yours. They are impossibly long, so long they do not feel like numbers anymore, but like seasons stacked on seasons, like tides repeating until the mind gives up and simply imagines. The scribe does not argue with the tablet. They do not insist it must be literal or that it must be metaphor. They hold it the way you might hold a myth you loved as a child, not to prove it, but to feel what it preserves. A memory of a world before a great turning of the waters, a time when the rivers behaved differently, when floods came, not as news alerts, but as deep shifts in the land, water rising, water receding, leaving behind rich mud and quiet astonishment. In the lamplight, the wedge marks look like ripples frozen into clay, and suddenly, very gently, you feel that small thread of curiosity tighten, just enough to guide you forward without pulling, because if these people wrote lists of kings and called some ages before the flood, then what did they believe the flood was? A storm, a season, a boundary in memory. And if the world has boundaries in memory, where do they go when the water rises? The scribe lifts their gaze, and for a moment it feels as if they are looking at you through time, through smoke, through the patient silence of the room. Not with urgency, with welcome. Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story. Here you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. And now, as the lamp continues to glow, the scribe carefully sets the King List tablet down as if placing it back into sleep. Maybe you are in a bedroom in a modern city, listening with one ear, letting the other sink into pillow. Maybe there is traffic outside, or a heater sighing, or the faint hum of a refrigerator. Let those sounds stay where they are. Here they become distant, like lights on the far bank of a river. In this room of clay and oil, you are allowed to be unproductive, unproven, simply present. As you breathe, the river counts with you, in, out, again. Outside, the canal water slides on, dark and smooth. It carries moonlight in thin ribbons. It carries reflections of reeds. It carries the hush of the marsh toward the open sea. And you have a feeling that if you follow that water, slowly, without effort, it may lead you to other sleeping places, other quiet questions, other gentle discoveries waiting beneath the surface. When you hear about the cycle of history, decay, bloom, rebirth, do you believe time is more like a circle or a river? For now, you don't have to answer. You can simply listen and float and let the next part of the story arrive the way night arrives, softly, steadily, and without hurry. The scribe returns to the quiet work as if nothing in the world could be urgent enough to disturb the lamp's small circle of light. Press, lift, press, lift. Each wedge in the clay is a tiny decision to notice, to remember, to make the passing moment stay a little longer. If your thoughts are still buzzing, let them buzz at the edge of the room, like insects outside a window. You do not need to chase them. You can stay here, where the air is warm and still, and where time moves in gentle, repeatable steps. On the low table beside the tablets, there is a shallow bowl of water. The scribe dips the reed stylus to keep its tip clean, then wipes it on a strip of linen. The movement is slow and ordinary, and that ordinariness is its own kind of medicine. It reminds you that calm is not something dramatic. Calm is a small practice repeated. Outside, the night has deepened. The settlement sounds are quieter now, a distant door closing, a faint cough, the soft creak of wood as a roof cools. Somewhere by the canal, an animal shifts in its sleep. And beyond all of it, the river continues, steady as a lullaby. The scribe slides a fresh tablet toward them. It is not yet dry, and the clay holds the lamp's warmth. When the stylus touches it, the clay gives in easily, like soft bread. The scribe begins to write a record of barley. How many baskets arrived today? How many were stored? How many will be sent down the canal in the morning? You can almost see those baskets woven from reeds, their smell of sun and riverbank still clinging to them. You can picture the canal boats, low and flat, gliding through dark water with lanterns at their bows. You can hear the quiet splash of a pole pushing against the mud. This is how an empire begins, with grain and water, with patient hands, with notes pressed into clay. And yet, in the middle of this ordinary record, the scribe pauses, not because they are confused, because the world is speaking. They lift their head, and you follow their gaze to a small wooden frame set near the wall. A rope hangs from it. At its end is a weight, and beneath it, a marked board. It is simple, almost humble, but it turns the invisible into something you can feel. A way of counting, a way of measuring a day. They do not call it science, they do not call it technology, they simply call it useful, and they treat it with the quiet respect you might give to a dependable friend. Counting is a gentle spell. You feel it when you count your steps on a late-night walk, when you count the turns of a spoon in a cup of tea, when you count your breaths trying to settle the storm inside your chest. Here, long ago, they counted in circles. They counted in 60s, like a slow wheel turning, not because they were obsessed with numbers, but because the world offered patterns and the human mind loves a pattern it can hold. 60 divides easily. It breaks into smaller pieces without resistance. It is a number that feels like a well-made basket, strong, flexible, useful. The scribe returns to the clay and you notice something tender about their attention. Every mark is made with care, as if the scribe believes the future deserves clarity. And maybe it does. Maybe, somewhere far ahead, a person like you will come close to these marks and feel less alone. The lamp flickers. For a moment, the shadows sharpen, then soften again. The scribe adds another line and then, without hurry, sets the stylus down. They stand and cross the room to a shelf where older tablets rest. Some are wrapped in cloth. Some are stacked with their edges aligned. The scribe chooses one carefully, like selecting a book from a family library. This tablet is different. Its surface is worn smooth in places, the way river stones are worn by touch and time. The scribe holds it close to the lamp, turning it slightly so the wedge marks catch the light. You can't read the words, not exactly, but you can feel their weight, a story pressed into earth. The scribe begins to speak softly, as if the tablet itself has asked to be heard. The language is ancient, but the tone is familiar, the tone of someone telling a tale at night to help another person sleep. It is a story about water, about a time when water rose and changed the world. But the scribe does not paint it as terror. There is no screaming in this telling, no chaos. The flood arrives like a long season, like a sky that forgets to stop raining, like a river that decides to widen its embrace. In the story, boats become homes, doors become floating thresholds. Families learn to listen for the direction of currents. The world becomes quieter, covered and softened, as if the earth has pulled a blanket over itself. And then, after a time, the water recedes. It leaves behind mud, yes, but also possibility. New lines to build, new fields to plant, new ways to remember. As you listen, you can feel something in your own body relax, because this is not a disaster movie. It is a gentle reminder that change is old and that life has always learned to adapt without losing its tenderness. The scribe sets the tablet down again. The room feels even quieter now, as if the story has lowered the volume of the world. Outside, the canal reflects the moon more clearly. The air cools a little, and the lamp's warmth feels like a small hearth. The scribe returns to the table and presses one more mark into the fresh clay, then another, slow, steady, soothing. Press, lift, press, lift. And then, almost as an afterthought, the scribe slides a thin strip of clay toward the edge of the table. It is not a full tablet, just a small piece, like a label. On it, they press a simple sign, one you can recognize without knowing the language, a little wave-like shape. Water. They look at it for a long moment, and in that long moment you understand the invitation. Follow the water, not quickly, not to arrive somewhere, but to be carried the way sleep carries you without effort. In your mind, you step back outside. The night air touches your face. The marsh's mist has thinned, and the stars have become sharper. The settlement is drowsy, lamps are fewer, footsteps are rare. You walk along the canal close enough to hear the soft movement of water against brick. The surface is dark, but it holds thin trails of reflected starlight. Each reflection trembles with the smallest current, like a quiet thought drifting through the mind. As you keep walking, the canal widens and joins a larger channel. The river is broader here, and it moves with a deeper confidence, like a song with a slower tempo. You do not have to steer. You do not have to plan. You only have to let your attention float. If you like, you can imagine your breath moving the way the water moves. In and out. Widening. Narrowing. Always returning. And as the river carries you forward, the last sounds of the city fade behind you, and you begin to sense the open world beyond. Fields resting under moonlight, distant palms, the faint, salt promise of a sea you have not yet seen. Along the bank, the ground changes from marsh soft to firmer earth. You pass sleeping gardens and low courtyards where jars of water stand covered with cloth, keeping the night cool inside them. A small shrine sits at a crossroads holding a single shell and a bit of dried reed tied with twine, simple offerings to whatever listens in the dark. Now and then, you see a canal gate made of wood, its beams dark with age. It is the kind of structure you might overlook in daylight, but at night it feels like a quiet promise that water can be guided gently, not forced, not rushed, simply invited to go where life needs it. The people here learned that lesson early. They watched the river's moods, and instead of fighting it, they shaped their days around its rhythm. Ahead, a boat glides by with no splashing, just the hush of a pole dipping and lifting. The boatman does not speak. He doesn't need to. The river is already speaking for him. A lantern on the bow paints a small path of light across the water, and the light wavers like a slow heartbeat. For a few breaths, you walk alongside that lantern path. You notice how the water holds it and lets it go, holds it and lets it go. If you've been holding your own worries too tightly, you can practice the same thing now. Hold and let go. Hold and let go. Above you, the stars look cleaner away from the lamplight of the settlement. They are not busy. They are simply there, arranged in their ancient patience. Long before anyone built tall towers of glass, people stood on riverbanks like this and tried to learn the sky's calm language, not to control it, but to feel at home beneath it. The river widens again. The air tastes faintly different, cooler, thinner, touched with something mineral. And somewhere far ahead, beyond the last bend, you sense the presence of the open sea, a vast, dark breathing like a sleeping animal too large to be afraid of. The thought arrives softly. If rivers can carry stories from the heart of a land to the edge of the world, then perhaps a story can carry you from the center of your day to the shore of sleep without any struggle. If this story is already calming your mind, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself below. Just a few words like a small lantern. The boatman's lantern has already disappeared around the bend, but its afterglow stays in your mind like a warm ember. You keep walking beside the river, letting the night do what night does best, lowering voices, softening edges, turning every thought into something slower. The path is simple: packed earth, a few scattered stones, the occasional root lifting gently from the ground. On one side, water. On the other, fields that sleep under a thin skin of moonlight. The crops are quiet now, their leaves barely moving, as if they have folded themselves inward to listen. In the distance, a dog gives one brief bark, then settles again. A door creaks. Somewhere, someone murmurs a name, the way people do when they check on a child, in the dark. Then silence returns, patient and wide. You pass a low wall of mud brick, and behind it, a courtyard holds a single date palm. Its fronds make a soft brushing sound like fingers combing through hair. Beneath the palm, a jar of water sits covered with cloth. The cloth is damp at the edges, cooling the jar by slow evaporation, a small domestic miracle that feels as gentle as breathing. This is the kind of detail you might miss in daylight. At night, it becomes a blessing, proof that people have always found quiet ways to care for themselves, even when the world is uncertain. The river widens again. Its surface is darker here, more confident, carrying the weight of many tributaries and many nights. You can smell the river more clearly. Mud and reed, but also something faintly metallic, like stone after rain. The air is cooler. It brushes your cheeks and forehead, as if asking permission to soothe you. If you want, you can let your eyelids grow heavy for a moment, not closing completely, just lowering, as if you are learning the language of drowsiness, in and out, slowly, evenly. Ahead, the bank curves and the landscape opens. The settlement is behind you now, its lamps reduced to a few distant sparks. In front of you, the river's voice deepens. It no longer whispers against brick. It speaks in broader syllables, in longer phrases, in a tone that feels older than any one city. A small dock appears, just a simple platform of wood and reed bundles tied together. 2 boats rest there, their hulls dark and still. A man sits at the edge with his feet near the water, mending a net by lantern light. He doesn't look up right away. His fingers work slowly, knot after knot, as if he trusts that the night will hold him. When he finally lifts his gaze, it is calm, curious, unafraid. He says nothing he doesn't need to. He gestures a small motion of the chin toward the nearer boat, as if inviting you to step into the river's next chapter. You climb in. The boat is stable, familiar in its simplicity. The wood is smooth where hands have touched it for years. You sit low, close to the water, and the lantern's light trembles across the surface. The man pushes off with a pole. The boat glides almost without sound. The river carries you. You do not have to hold tight. You do not have to brace. The water supports you the way sleep supports a tired mind, quietly, without judgment. The lantern makes a small circle of gold on the water, and beyond that circle, the river becomes pure darkness, pure possibility. Overhead, the stars scatter like grains of salt on velvet. Some of them seem to flicker as thin clouds drift past, but the flicker is slow, gentle, like a blink. The man rows with an easy rhythm. Dip, pull, lift, pause, dip, pull, lift, pause. It feels like a heartbeat you can borrow. As you move downstream, you pass reeds that stand like watchful silhouettes. A heron sleeps on one leg, its head tucked into its feathers, perfectly still. The boat slides by and the bird does not wake. It trusts the river's quiet. You pass a place where the bank is broken and the water has taken a bite out of the earth. In the exposed clay you can see layers, thin bands of color one above another, like pages in a book. Some layers are pale, some dark, some speckled with tiny shells. The man taps the bank lightly with his pole, not to point out danger, but as if greeting an old memory. Flood years, you realize? Not catastrophe, not punishment, just seasons when the river rose, laid down a new blanket of silt, and changed the shape of the shore by a few quiet inches. The boat continues. The night continues. Farther down, the air changes again. It carries a faint taste of salt. Not strong, not sharp, just a hint, like a promise. The river seems to notice too. Its surface grows smoother, as if preparing itself for a larger body of water, for a meeting that has happened countless times. At the horizon, the darkness looks different, heavier and flatter. The man nods once, almost imperceptibly. The sea. Not a roaring ocean, not a dramatic wave. Just a vast breathing beyond the river's mouth, a slow inhale and exhale you can feel, even from here. The boat enters the wide delta where the river splits and reunites, weaving through low islands of reeds and sand. The lantern light catches tiny insects hovering above the water, their wings shimmering. Somewhere in the reeds, frogs make a soft pulsing chorus, steady, repetitive, like a lullaby made by the earth. You watch the water closely and begin to see it differently. Here, the river is not only moving forward, it is also remembering. It carries traces of upstream clay, of reeds, of city smoke, of lamp oil, of barley dust. Everything that touched it becomes part of its story. And as it approaches the sea, it offers that story outward, letting it dissolve into something larger. The man reaches into a small basket and pulls out a shell, smooth, pale, curved like a crescent moon. He holds it up to the lantern light. On its surface, someone has carved a simple mark, a line, a dot, a small wave. Nothing elaborate, nothing loud. A quiet sign meant to be understood by a few. He sets the shell in your palm. It is cool, and it smells faintly of salt. For a moment you hold a small piece of the sea before you have even reached it. In this delta, people trade more than grain. They trade stories. They trade directions. They trade whispers about distant coastlines, about islands where the stars seem closer, about harbours where foreign tongues sound like songs, and among those whispers there is one that returns again and again in different shapes. A tale of stones beneath water, a place where walls lie flat under blue darkness, as if a city went to sleep and never fully woke. Not destroyed, not haunted, just resting, covered in drifting green, the way a garden rests under winter frost. The man does not insist the tale is true. He doesn't argue, he simply lets the idea float between you like the lantern's reflection floating on the surface. Maybe, he seems to say, there are rooms that time forgets to empty. Maybe the sea is not only water, but a library, quiet shelves of stone and sand, holding memories in silence. The boat glides on, the river's current loosens, and a gentle swell begins, almost imperceptible. The sea is touching the river now, meeting it with slow palms. The boat rises and falls by the smallest amount, like a cradle testing its motion. You breathe with it. In, out, up, down, easy. At last the boat enters the mouth where fresh water and salt water mingle. The smell of the sea becomes clearer. The air opens wide, the stars feel farther away and also closer, as if the sky has become a deeper bowl. The man guides the boat toward a quiet sandbar. He lets the pole sink into the shallow bottom, and the boat comes to rest as softly as a hand settling on a shoulder. You step out onto damp sand. It holds the day's warmth in its depths and the night's cool on its surface. The sea is in front of you, dark, vast, calm. It makes a sound like a long, slow exhale. If you listen carefully, you can hear two rhythms meeting, the river's steady push, the sea's gentle pull. And somewhere in that meeting, your own mind begins to loosen. If you've been trying to be strong all day, you can let that effort fade now. You don't have to hold the world together. The river and sea have been meeting without your help for thousands of years. They will keep meeting, steady and patient, long after tonight. The man sets the lantern down on the sand. Its light makes a small circle. And inside that circle, everything feels safe. He sits and begins to mend the net again, knot by knot, as if tying the night closed. You sit too and look at the sea. Maybe you are listening from a high-rise apartment or a small house, the day still humming in your walls. Perhaps your phone is nearby, face down, quiet. Perhaps the glow of a streetlight slips through blinds and paints soft bars across the ceiling. Let that modern light become another kind of lantern. Here, on this sand bar, the same human need is present, to be held by something larger. The sea does not ask you to perform. The river does not ask you to explain. They simply meet again and again, as if repeating a promise. You can release what you carried, and nothing will fall apart. Take one breath in and let it out longer than it came in. When you hear about the cycle of a history, decay, bloom, rebirth, does it feel to you like this tide, always returning, always leaving, never truly gone? You don't have to answer. You can simply watch the water and feel your breath, and let the next gentle discovery rise like a moon from the quiet edge of the sea. The sea in front of you is calm enough to feel like fabric, dark cloth gently lifting and settling, as if the world itself is breathing in its sleep. The lantern on the sandbar makes a small circle of warmth. Outside that circle, the water is almost black, but not threatening. It is simply deep and patient and full of old silence. The net mender ties one knot, then another. Each knot is small, each knot is sure. Watching him, you realize that your own mind can do the same. Tie the day closed, one loose thread at a time, until nothing is flapping in the wind. If it feels good, let your jaw unclench, let your tongue rest. Let your forehead soften. Take one slow breath in through your nose and let it out like a long sigh you don't have to explain. The tide comes in with a sound that is barely a sound. It is more like a hush, a soft shh from the edge of the world. And then, very gently, the story invites you to go closer. Not by walking, not by effort. The way you enter a dream, by letting yourself be carried. In your imagination, you step to the shoreline and let the water touch your feet. It is cool at first, then quickly becomes familiar, as if your skin remembers something older than your name. You take another step. The sea lifts around your ankles, your calves, your knees, and you feel how easily the body can float when it stops fighting. The lantern light stretches across the surface in thin gold lines. Each line trembles, then smooths, then trembles again, like a thought that rises and dissolves. You lower yourself into the water. The sea holds you the way a deep pillow holds a tired head. Above you, the stars blur. The sounds of the shore soften. The net mender's quiet movements become distant, like a memory of care. You drift, and then, without drama, you begin to sink, not falling, not dropping, just descending, slowly, like a leaf in still air. The water grows darker, bluer, the world becomes hushed in a way that feels almost sacred. Your ears fill with a soft pressure that is not painful, only present. Your breath becomes something you can hear inside yourself, slow and steady like a private ocean. In the blue quiet, you notice that even time changes its voice. On land, time can feel like a line, straight, urgent, always pointing forward. Here, beneath the surface, time feels like a room. It surrounds you. It waits. It doesn't push. A few small fish pass by, silver flickers in the dim light. They move as if they are following music you cannot hear, turning together, separating, rejoining, never hurried. A ribbon of seaweed sways back and forth like hair, floating in slow motion. And then, below you, the sea floor rises into view, At first it is only sand rippled like a sleeping blanket. Then you see stone. Not jagged rocks, not chaotic debris. Stone arranged. Flat blocks, a line that feels too straight to be accidental. A corner that holds its angle with quiet certainty. A city-like memory. You hover above it, weightless, and let your eyes travel along the shapes. There are low walls softened by time. There are steps that lead nowhere now because the doorway they once reached has been taken by the sea. But everything is calm. The stones are not broken in anger, they are simply resting. Barnacles cling like tiny white buttons. Soft green growth drapes edges like moss in a shaded garden. In the cracks, small creatures make their homes as if the city has become a reef. Life, using what the past leaves behind. Some people in later ages would look for a place like this, along the coast of what we now call India, and they would speak of an ancient city remembered in legend. Dwarka, a name that tastes like salt and story. Whether the stones belong to that exact tale or to another forgotten shore, the feeling is the same. The sea can cover a place and still keep it gentle. You do not have to decide what is true in the loud sense. Tonight, you only have to notice what is beautiful in the quiet sense. A wall becomes a resting place for coral. A threshold becomes a passage for fish. A fallen pillar becomes a slow garden. History, you realize, is not always a parade of victories and endings. Sometimes history is simply a soft layering. Water above stone, green above brick, silence above old footsteps. You drift closer to a line of blocks that might have been a street. The sand has filled it in, smoothing the path the way snow smooths a road after everyone has gone inside. The city has been made into sleep, and in that underwater sleep you feel something in your chest soften, because the sea is not asking you to keep up. It is not asking you to hold every memory tightly. It is showing you another way, to let time cover things without erasing their meaning. For a moment, you imagine the people who once lived here. Not in panic, not in tragedy, just in ordinary life. A hand rinsing a bowl. A child tracing circles in wet sand. A lamp being lit at dusk. Voices low, close, human. Then the image fades, as images do when you are drifting towards sleep. It leaves behind only warmth, like a handprint on a mug of tea. You begin to rise again, slowly, as if the sea is returning you to the surface with care. The blue light brightens, the pressure eases. The stars begin to shimmer above you through the moving skin of water. When your head breaks the surface, the night air touches your face like a soft cloth. You are back near the sandbar. The lantern is still there, still steady. The net mender is still tying knots, calm as ever. But now something has changed. You have seen that the past can sleep. And if the past can sleep, maybe you can too. The net mender reaches into his basket again, and this time he pulls out something small and dark, something that looks like a lump of metal at first. He sets it near the lantern, and the light reveals its shape. A fragment of bronze, not smooth, not decorative, practical. The edge is curved, and along that curve are tiny teeth like the teeth of a gear. He turns it slowly between his fingers. The metal catches the light in a dull glow. Long after the first river cities, long after many coastlines changed and many ships crossed many waters, divers in another sea would find a different set of bronze teeth tangled in the remains of a shipwreck near a Greek island. Not a weapon, not a crown. A quiet machine, gears nested inside a wooden box, made to follow the sky's slow dance. A device that could count. A device that could whisper, in metal and math, that the heavens have rhythms too. You don't need the details, you don't need the measurements. You only need the feeling that someone, somewhere, once sat with patience and made time visible. The net mender holds the bronze fragment to his ear, as if listening. And in your imagination, you can almost hear it, not a clank, not a harsh ticking, but a soft, dry whisper, like a reed stylus on clay. Press, lift, gear, turn, gear, turn. It is the same comfort in a different language, because whether you count with wedges in clay or with teeth of bronze, the desire is gentle, to understand the pattern and to feel less lost inside it. Above you, the sky is clear. The stars are not fixed points, you remember. They only seem fixed because we are small and our lives are brief. But the earth itself makes slow changes, so slow they feel like stillness. A subtle wobble, a long, patient turning, like a sleeping top that never quite stops. Over a span longer than any one civilization's breath, the sky's map shifts. A star that once guided sailors becomes a different star. The pole of the heavens drifts, as if the world is gently nodding in its sleep. Thinking of it does not make you anxious, it makes you lighter, because it means nothing is required to be permanent for it to be meaningful. A guiding star can change, and still the night can guide. The net mender's lantern flickers once, then steadies. He looks up at the constellations the way you might look at a familiar ceiling when you wake in the dark, recognizing shapes, not forcing names. And you remember an old idea that traveled through many cultures like a quiet song, that the heavens have music, not music you hear with ears, music you feel with stillness, the harmony of distances, the rhythm of orbits, the gentle mathematics of things that keep returning. If you listen now, you might sense it, not as sound but as comfort, as if the universe is humming under everything, and your own breath is already part of the chord, in and out, like tide and river, like stylus and clay, like gear and sky. When you hear about the cycle of history, cities rising, cities resting, stories resurfacing, does it feel less like a straight road and more like a tide that knows how to return? If this thought brings you calm, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself below. A single word is enough, a small lantern. For now, let the lantern's glow soften your eyes. Let the sea's hush soften your thoughts. Let the sky's patience soften your heart. Because in this quiet corner of the night, you don't have to carry time. You only have to float inside it. Tonight, you are safe to rest. The lantern on the sandbar keeps breathing in its small way, brightening, softening, brightening again. Like it, too, is learning how to rest. The net mender has finished his last knot. He sets the net aside and rubs his hands together, slow and quiet, as if warming them on the memory of work. Then he leans back and looks up at the stars for a long time without speaking. You follow his gaze. Above the sea, the sky feels wider than it did beside the river. There are fewer edges here, no walls, no roofs, no narrow streets to hold the night close, only open air, salt, and the patient arrangement of light. Some stars seem sharper than others. Some hide behind a thin veil of cloud and return, again, a moment later. The moon hangs low, pale and steady, washing the water in silver that comes and goes with each small wave. And as you watch, you notice something gentle and strange. The sea and the sky mirror each other. The stars scatter across the darkness above. The lantern's reflection scatters across the darkness below. A bright point, then another, then another. It is a quiet reminder that the world loves patterns and that the mind, when it is tired, can take comfort in them. The net mender reaches into his basket one more time and pulls out a small clay token, smooth and rounded like a pebble that has been held for many years. On its surface, a simple mark has been pressed, a curved line, a small arc, something like a crescent. He turns it in his fingers, then places it beside the bronze fragment. Clay and metal, earth and fire. Two ways of remembering. He does not say, "Look how advanced we are." He does not say, "Look how mysterious." He simply places them there like two quiet guests at the same table and lets you feel the continuity. Humans have always tried to make sense of the same things: water, light, time. You might feel a soft ache in that realization, the kind that comes when you remember you are part of something larger than your own worries. Not an ache of sadness, but of tenderness, as if the heart is stretching a little, making room for a slower, kinder perspective. If you like, take a slow breath in and let your exhale be long enough to feel the chest soften, in and out. The tide continues its calm work, arriving and leaving, never asking permission, never apologizing. It is simply being what it is. And you begin to understand why the ancients, so many different peoples, across so many different landscapes, kept returning to the same quiet thought. As above, so below. Not as a slogan to win an argument, not as a secret to hoard, but as a lullaby. The idea that the patterns outside us can soothe the patterns inside us, that the rhythm of water can teach the rhythm of breath, that the patience of stars can teach the patience of the mind. The net mender stands and gestures for you to follow him. He lifts the lantern and its warm circle moves across the sand, across small shells, across damp footprints that will be erased by the next wave. You walk with him along the shoreline where the water keeps kissing the land in slow, repeating gestures. Soon you reach a low cluster of huts, simple and quiet, built from reed bundles and wood. There is no noise of celebration here, no bright flame, no crowded voices. Just the hush of people sleeping close to the sea, trusting it the way you trust the sound of rain on a roof. Inside one hut, an older woman sits awake, her hair wrapped in cloth, her eyes calm. A small lamp burns beside her. In front of her is a shallow bowl of clay, and in that bowl is a thin layer of wet earth, fine, smooth, ready to hold a mark. She holds a reed stylus. The sound begins again. Press, lift, press, lift. The net mender lowers the lantern, and the room becomes a soft, amber cave. The woman's hands move with the same patience as the scribe's hands by the canal. The wedge marks appear, neat and steady, like footsteps on a quiet path. You realize that you have traveled far, and yet you have not left the same room. History is like that. It changes its clothing, river mud, sea salt, bronze teeth, but its heartbeat is familiar. The woman looks up, and for a moment you feel seen, not examined, not judged, simply recognized, the way one tired person recognizes another. She speaks softly, and though the words are ancient, you understand the meaning. "Sit," her voice seems to say. "Be warm, let the night hold you." You sit on a woven mat. It smells faintly of reeds and smoke. The lantern's flame makes slow shadows on the wall, shadows that stretch and shrink like sleepy animals. On the wall hangs a small net, and above it a string of shells. The shells click softly when a breeze slips through the doorway. It is a delicate sound, almost musical. The woman continues writing, but now the marks are not about barley or sheep. They are about the sky, not in the way a modern textbook would do it, not with hard diagrams or sharp conclusions, more like a sailor's prayer, a farmer's observation, a grandmother's memory of which star appears when the air begins to cool. She presses a sign that looks like an eye, then another that looks like a starburst, then a curved line like a boat's wake. You watch her and feel your mind settle into the same slow rhythm. mark by mark, breath by breath. Somewhere beyond the hut, the sea sighs. Somewhere above the hut, the stars continue their patient dance. The woman reaches for the bronze fragment and turns it in the lamplight. She does not claim it came from the gods. She does not claim it proves anything dramatic. She simply holds it as evidence of careful hands, someone who once sat and shaped metal so that it could follow the sky's gentle order. The net mender watches her with quiet respect. He has seen storms. He has lost nets. He has mended them again. He knows that survival is practical. But he also knows, perhaps more than most, that the mind needs beauty. The woman speaks again, and you catch a phrase that feels like a soft chord struck in the dark. The heavens have harmony. Not a harmony you must decode, a harmony you are allowed to rest inside. You think of a philosopher in another place, another time, someone who listened to strings on a lyre and then looked up at the stars and wondered if distance and movement could become music. Later, people would call it the music of the spheres, but tonight, it does not matter what it is called. Tonight, it is simply a comforting idea that the universe is not only cold space, but also rhythm. And if the universe has rhythm, then your tired heart is not out of place when it longs for steadiness. The woman sets the bronze fragment down and returns to the clay. She writes slowly, then pauses, as if listening to something that isn't quite audible. The shells by the door click again, a tiny chime. The sea answers with another long exhale. The lantern answers with its flicker. 3 quiet instruments. You begin to feel as though you are inside a song that has always been playing, and you have simply turned down the volume of your thoughts enough to notice it. If you've been carrying anxiety like a clenched fist, you can let that fist open now. Let the fingers soften. Let the palm become empty, in and out. The woman's tablet fills with marks. Then, without hurry, she smooths a new layer of clay and begins again, repeating the calm practice of making a night readable. She is not chasing certainty. She is weaving comfort. Outside, the tide turns. It begins to withdraw, leaving wet sand that reflects the lantern's glow like a quiet mirror. The net mender steps out to check the boats, moving with the easy confidence of someone who knows the shoreline's moods. You remain inside the hut, watching the woman write. As she works, she tells you a story, not with dramatic arcs, but with gentle images. She speaks of a time when the river swelled and covered the fields, and people waited, patient, until the water retreated. She speaks of a time when a new channel opened and the coastline changed by a few slow steps. She speaks of elders who remembered old shorelines and of children who grew up thinking the new shoreline had always been there. She does not call it disaster. She calls it the world breathing. The earth inhales water, the earth exhales water. And humans, small and clever, learn to live with that breath. Your own breath begins to match the story. Inhale, exhale. You might notice how your body becomes heavier against whatever supports you. Bed, couch, chair, pillow. That heaviness is not a problem. It is the sign that you are safe enough to rest. The woman finishes her tablet and sets it aside to dry. The marks will harden. The story will remain. She looks at you with a small smile and asks a question that is more like an invitation than a test. When you think of time, she says, do you feel it running past you? Or do you feel it circling back, like the tide? When you hear about the cycle of history, decay, bloom, rebirth, do you believe time is more like a circle or a river? You can answer in your own way later if you want. You can leave a gentle thought below when you're ready. Or you can keep the answer private, folded inside you like a warm note. For now, the hut is quiet, the lantern is steady, the sea is patient. And somewhere far behind you, in another room by another canal, a scribe is still pressing wedges into clay, still counting in circles, still making the world feel a little more held. All of it connected, all of it calm, and you, here and now, are allowed to drift, slowly, towards sleep. Later, when the lantern has burned lower and the hut has become a quiet cave of amber light, the older woman smooths the last of the wet clay with the flat of her palm. The marks she made will dry into firmness by morning. The story will stay, held by earth. For a long moment, nobody speaks. Outside, the tide continues its gentle conversation with the shore. The net mender's footsteps come and go in the sand, soft as a cat. A breeze slips through the doorway and makes the shells click once, twice, tiny notes that feel like the beginning of a lullaby. If your eyes feel heavy now, you can let them be heavy. You do not have to hold them open. You can listen through half-closed lids, the way you listen to rain when you're already drifting, in and out. The woman stands and lifts a woven basket from a corner. Inside are small comforts, a folded cloth, a handful of dried herbs, a few bits of resin that smell faintly sweet when warmed. She pinches one between her fingers and drops it onto the lamp's rim. The air fills with a soft fragrance, warm, earthy, almost like cedar and honey. It changes the room in the smallest way, like adding a deeper note to a chord. Then she motions for you to follow her outside. The night meets you gently. The air is cool, but not sharp. The sea is a dark sheet stretching to the horizon, stitched with silver where the moon touches it. Along the shoreline, other huts sleep quietly, their doorways dark, their roofs low against the sky. A little distance away on a patch of sand sheltered by dunes, a small fire burns, not a roaring blaze, just a modest circle of embers with a few steady flames leaning into the wind. Around it sit 3 figures, wrapped in cloth, their faces calm and relaxed. No one looks surprised to see you. No one asks for explanations. There is a quiet hospitality in the way they make room, shifting slightly so you can sit at the edge of the warmth. The net mender sits too, letting his hands rest on his knees. The older woman lowers herself with care, like someone who has done this 1,000 nights and still finds it sacred. The fire crackles once, then settles, becoming a soft, steady breath. You watch the embers glow and dim, glow and dim. The rhythm is slow enough to soothe the mind. The smell of smoke is mild, mingling with salt air. The sound of the sea becomes the fire's distant drum. One of the figures across from you is an elder with hair as pale as ash. Their eyes reflect the flame, and when they begin to speak, their voice is low and even, like water moving over smooth stones. They do not announce a lesson. They simply begin a story about how people carry nights. They say that long ago, long before anyone wrote on clay, long before bronze gears hid inside boxes, people sat around fires and listened. They listened to the wind for weather. They listened to the birds for seasons. They listened to the crackle of embers for comfort. And when words rose, they rose slowly, shaped by breath. The elders' hands move as they speak, not dramatic, just gentle. One palm opening, then closing, as if holding an invisible thread. They speak of a dream time, not as an argument, not as something to prove, but as a way of describing the softness that exists between waking and sleeping, between the seen and the remembered. A time when the world is made again each night in the quiet theatre behind the eyelids. They say, the earth does not only live in daylight, it also lives in story. As you listen, you feel the truth of that in your own body. Because here you are, safe beside a fire, living in a story, letting it rebuild your mind into calm. The elder points to the stars with a slow tilt of the chin. Above you, the sky is wide and patient. The constellations seem almost still, like they are resting too. But the elder reminds you softly that even stillness can be a kind of motion. The world turns, the heavens shift in ways too slow for a single lifetime to notice. They do not mention numbers. They do not ask you to calculate anything. They simply give you an image. The sky is a wheel, turning so slowly that you can fall asleep in its turning. The sea answers with a long hush, and the fire answers with a small pop, sending a spark upward. The spark rises like a tiny star for a heartbeat, then disappears. The elder smiles at that. As above, they say, so below. But they say it the way you might say, it's going to be okay. They speak of water as the earth's breath. They speak of tides arriving like a gentle hand, then leaving like a gentle hand. They speak of rivers carrying silt and memory from inland gardens to the open sea, and of the sea holding those memories until it is ready to return them as rain. You can almost see it, clouds forming in the distance, gathering quietly, traveling, releasing their softness over faraway fields. The cycle feels less like a machine and more like a lullaby the planet has always been singing. Then the elder leans forward and reaches into a pouch. They bring out a small stone, smooth and dark, polished by time. On its surface, a spiral has been carved, simple, shallow, easy to trace. They place it in your palm. The spiral is warm from their hand. You run your thumb along the groove and feel how the line curves inward, 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 then returns outward. Again. It has no sharp corners. It does not rush. It simply continues. The elder says, this is how time feels when you stop arguing with it. Not a straight line you must chase, but a spiral you can move through, returning to familiar places with new understanding. A night returns, but you are different inside it. A season returns, but the light is slightly changed. A story returns, but your heart hears it in a new way. And this is the soft discovery of tonight, that the past is not only behind you, it is also beside you, breathing, repeating, circling, offering you another chance to rest. The fire warms your knees, the sea cools your cheeks, the stars hold steady above, and for the first time in a long while, you feel your nervous system loosen its grip. If you have been living like everything is urgent, this moment offers a different truth. Some things are slow on purpose. The elder begins another story, this one about a traveler who carried worry like a heavy bundle. The traveler walked from city to city, always counting steps, always thinking of the next task, the next problem, the next fear. At night, the traveler lay down, but the mind kept moving like a river in flood. One evening, the traveler found a quiet shore and sat beside an old fisherman mending a net. The fisherman asked nothing. He simply tied knots. Knot by knot, the traveler's breath slowed. Knot by knot, the traveler's thoughts stopped snapping like twigs. The fisherman held up the net and said, "Your mind is like this. When the threads are loose, everything feels like it's falling apart. But when you give your attention to one knot at a time, the net holds." The traveler did not fix life in one night, but the traveler learned something gentle. You do not have to solve the whole ocean. You only have to breathe through the next wave. As the elder tells it, you notice that the story is also you, not in a grand, dramatic way, in a small, human way. A reminder that the same restlessness has visited many hearts, and many hearts have found their way back to calm. The older woman beside you adds a small stick to the fire. It catches slowly, then steadies. The flame leans, then stands. The movement is quiet, and you feel your own inner flame doing the same. The net mender reaches down and draws a spiral in the sand with one finger, one curve, then another. The tide will erase it later, but for now, it exists. Simple and true. He looks at you, and his eyes carry a gentle invitation. You can let the day be erased too, at least for tonight. The elder's voice grows softer, as if the story is lowering you towards sleep. They speak of how every culture has a way of returning to the same comfort, a circle of warmth, a sky of patience, a rhythm that repeats. Sometimes it is a lamp in a hut, sometimes it is a fire on a shore, sometimes it is a voice in your ear while you lie in a modern bed, letting a story do what it has always done, carry you over the rough edges of thought. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below, only if you want to. Your words can be small, even a single sentence can be a soft lantern. The elder asks very gently, as if speaking to the quiet part of you, when you are tired, do you find peace in knowing the world repeats its rhythms? Or do you find peace in imagining you can finally let go? You can answer in your own time. For now, take one slow breath in and let it out as the fire lets out its heat, without effort, without holding back. In and out. If you can, notice the weight of your body being supported by mattress, by pillow, by chair, by the simple kindness of gravity. Let your hands rest wherever they have fallen. Let your shoulders melt a little further, as if they are settling into warm sand. The sea sighs, the embers dim, and the spiral in your palm feels like a promise that you do not have to race time to be safe inside it. Tonight, you can rest in the circle. The fire has grown smaller now, not weaker, only quieter, like a thought settling into the back of the mind. The elder's voice becomes a low tide, and the night gathers itself around you with gentle patience. When you stand, you feel no urgency in your body, only a slow, comfortable heaviness, as if your bones have decided to stop pretending they are made for speed. The net mender lifts the lantern again, and together you walk back toward the huts, leaving the embers behind to speak in their own soft language. The sand is cool under your feet. Each step leaves a print that will be smoothed away later, and there is comfort in that. Some things are meant to disappear, not because they are worthless, but because the world is always making room for the next quiet moment. At the doorway of the hut, the older woman pauses and looks toward the sea. The moonlight turns the water into a wide ribbon of silver, and the surface rises and falls with an unhurried breath. She seems to listen for something that most people forget to hear, the way the planet keeps time without clocks. Inside, the lamp is still burning. The hut smells of reeds, smoke, and the faint sweetness of resin. The woven mat waits like an invitation. The woman kneels beside the low table and draws a small wooden box from beneath a folded cloth. The box is plain, no jewels, no carved mythic beasts, only smooth wood darkened by use. It could be mistaken for an ordinary container, spices, needles, small coins. But when she sets it beneath the lamp and opens the lid, you see something that makes your curiosity brighten softly, the way a sleeping eye might open halfway. Inside are gears, not large, not loud, small bronze circles with delicate teeth nested in a careful arrangement. Some gears are joined by thin axles, some rest separately wrapped in cloth, as if waiting for their place in a larger pattern. The metal is warm in the lamplight, and the teeth catch tiny highlights like the edges of shells. The woman does not lift the box with pride. She lifts it with tenderness, as if it is a sleeping animal she does not want to wake too roughly. She turns it slightly so you can see how the gears align, how one small circle kisses another, and how the touch becomes motion. In the quiet, you can almost imagine the sound it would make if it moved, not a harsh tick, but a soft, dry whisper, a gentle brushing like reeds against each other, like the reed stylus on clay, like the hush of the tide. This, her eyes seem to say, is another way of counting. The net mender sits near the doorway, listening to the sea through the hut's thin walls. The older woman sets the box down and places her fingers on one gear. She turns it only a little. The nested wheels respond, each one taking the invitation and passing it along. Turn, and another turns, turn, and another answers. It is a conversation made of bronze, and you think of the scribe in the river city pressing wedge marks into damp clay. You think of baskets of barley, of water clocks dripping steadily, of the number 60 appearing again and again like a familiar refrain. And now you see this metal trying to hold the same softness, a different instrument playing the same lullaby. The woman closes the lid halfway, then opens it again, slowly, as if she wants you to feel the gentleness of the motion. The lid does not snap. Nothing startles. Even the box seems trained in calm. Outside, the sea exhales. Inside, the lamp flickers. Between those two breaths, the woman tells you a story in the simplest way, like someone describing a place you can visit in a dream. She says that there are islands far from here where ships sometimes stop to trade and to rest. She says that divers have found old wrecks there, and that sometimes among broken jars and softened wood, a strange object appears. Bronze pieces with teeth like the small circles in her box. People bring those pieces to the surface, rinse away the salt, and sit with them under lamplight the way she is sitting now. They do not shout about it. They do not build fear around it. And they simply wonder, who had the patience to make such small parts, and what were they trying to follow? The woman's voice grows softer, as if she is sharing something fragile. They were watching the sky, she says, not watching to control it. Watching the way you watch rain from a window. Watching the way you watch the face of someone you love while they sleep. The sky, for those careful hands, was not a distant coldness. It was a companion, a guide, a rhythm. The box, she suggests, is like a quiet calendar, a way to let the heavens turn inside a human room, a way to bring the wide night down into something you can hold. You imagine it, a small wooden case on a table, a lamp beside it, a person turning a knob slowly. Inside, bronze wheels begin their soft dance, and outside, above the roof, the stars continue their own dance, two circles turning at different scales, yet somehow harmonizing, as above, so below. You feel the phrase settle in you like a warm stone. The older woman reaches for a fresh clay tablet. She presses it flat, then makes a few simple marks, nothing complicated, just signs that suggest the moon's curve, the sun's path, a star's presence. She is not drawing a map for argument. She is making a picture for peace. She pauses and looks at you, and in her pause there is a question meant for your tired heart. When you lie awake at night, does your mind run like a river, carrying too many thoughts downstream? Or does it circle like the tide, returning to the same worries again and again? You don't have to answer aloud. You can just notice what is true. The noticing itself is a kind of relief. The woman sets the stylus down. She places the clay tablet near the lamp so it will dry. Then she opens the wooden box again and takes out a single gear. small enough to rest on her fingertips. She holds it close to the flame. The bronze glows softly, and you see how finely the teeth have been shaped, each one a tiny promise of order. She sets the gear back and closes the lid gently, as if tucking the sky into bed. Outside, a breeze slips through the doorway. The shells click once, twice. The net mender smiles in the dark, and you sense that he too feels the comfort of this, of knowing that people have always tried to make the universe feel like home. The older woman lies down on her mat. The net mender leans against the wall, eyes half closed. The lamp continues to burn, but lower now, as if it is preparing to sleep as well. You remain awake just long enough to notice one more thing. The sea's rhythm is steady but not rigid. The waves do not arrive in perfect identical intervals. They vary slightly like breath, like the turn of a hand on a wheel, like the gentle wobble of a world that is alive. Maybe that is why the ancients loved the sky so much. Not because it was flawless, but because it was faithful. It returned, it offered repetition, it gave the mind something to trust. If you want, you can imagine the little bronze gears turning in their box as you breathe, in and out. A small wheel turns, a larger wheel answers, in and out. The night shifts above the roof. The tide shifts at the shore. You are part of the same pattern. And if this story is helping you slow down, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself. Just a few words, like a small lantern placed on the sand. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Now let the lamp's glow soften further. Let the wooden box close in your imagination. Let the gears become quieter and quieter until they are only a feeling, order without pressure, rhythm without demand. Before sleep takes you fully, you step outside the hut one last time. The air is cooler and the shoreline is a pale curve. The tide draws a thin line of foam that appears and disappears with each slow wave. Farther out, the sea is almost perfectly dark, and the moon lays a quiet road across it. You look up. The stars seem fixed at first, but if you stay with them, if you let your attention soften, you begin to sense the sky is not a painting. It is a moving field, a slow turning, a gentle drift that no one can hurry. The memory of the scribe returns, reed stylus pressing wedges into clay, the calm acceptance that seasons change and waters rise and fall. The sky too changes, so slowly it feels like stillness, so faithfully it feels like trust. You imagine other people standing where you stand, in other centuries, looking up and feeling small and comforted at the same time. The same lights above them, the same need inside them to belong to something steady. The thought does not make you lonely, it makes you lighter, because it means your worries are not the center of the universe, and you are not required to hold everything up with your mind. The sky turns without your effort. The tide returns without your permission. The world knows how to continue, gently, even while you sleep. You let that truth settle into your chest like warmth. Then you step back inside, and the lamp's small circle welcomes you again. Just one breath, then another. Slow, warm, safe. The lamp is lower now, and its flame has learned a softer language. It no longer tries to brighten the whole hut. It simply warms the nearest space, like a small hand resting on your shoulder, saying quietly, "You can stop striving." The older woman and the net mender are already drifting. Their breathing has become slower, deeper, the kind of breathing that belongs to people who trust the night. Outside, the sea continues its patient rhythm. Inside, the hut holds stillness like a cup holds warm tea. If you are listening from your own bed, you might notice that your body has begun to mimic them. Your shoulders heavier, your hands less tense. Your thoughts less sharp at the edges. If there is still a little restlessness, let it be. Restlessness doesn't need to be fought. It can be allowed to tire itself out, like a child who finally stops running and curls into quiet, in and out. At some point, without effort, you slip into another place. Not fully asleep, not fully awake. That soft corridor where the mind begins to dream in slow motion. You are back outside again, but not on the shore this time. You are standing on a wide, open plain beneath the night sky, where the air is cooler and the horizon is farther. The sea is behind you now, and ahead is a quiet stretch of land that looks as though it has been waiting for you for thousands of years. The ground is smooth and dark, scattered with tiny stones that catch starlight like faint sparks. In the distance, a low hill rises like a sleeping animal, and on that hill something stands, something simple, tall and steady, a pillar, not carved with drama, not decorated with fierce faces, just a vertical shape, an upright presence against the sky. As you walk toward it, your steps are slow and soundless, as if the plain is made of soft ash. The pillar grows clearer. At its base, a shallow bowl has been carved into stone, and inside the bowl is still water, dark, reflecting the stars above. You look into the bowl and see two skies, one in the heavens, one in the water, as above, so below. The phrase returns, but now it feels like a physical sensation, like being held between two mirrors of calm. You lift your gaze again to the stars, and you become aware of something that most people forget. The sky is not fixed. It only seems fixed because our lives are short and our attention is busy. But the earth itself is always moving, not only turning each day, not only traveling around the sun each year, but also making a slower motion, an almost imperceptible tilt and sway, like a top that wobbles gently as it spins. The motion is so slow that it does not belong to urgency, it belongs to deep time. If you could watch the sky across thousands of years, you would see the center of the night shift slightly. You would see the star that sits near the pole change, slowly exchanging places with another. You would see constellations tilt and slide like driftwood on a gentle current. The ancients noticed this, not with machines at first, but with patience, with records, with quiet repetition, with the humility to admit that the heavens are not arranged for any one generation. The pillar before you is one such record, not a grand monument, just a steady marker aligned with a certain star. A way of saying, we were here, we looked up, we noticed, we remembered. You rest your hand on the stone and feel its coolness. It is a deep cool, the cool of something that has lived through countless nights without complaint. It makes your own warmth feel precious, and your own fatigue feel understandable. You are not meant to be awake forever. You are meant to turn toward rest, the way the planet turns toward night. In the bowl of water, the stars tremble slightly. A faint breeze moves across the surface, making the reflections ripple. The ripples distort the stars into small, dancing lines. And suddenly you understand the quiet beauty of it. Even when the world moves, it remains beautiful. Movement does not have to be chaos. Movement can be gentle. You kneel beside the bowl and let your mind grow quiet enough to hear its own internal sea. In and out. Somewhere behind you, the older woman's wooden box of gears is turning in imagination. Somewhere far inland, the scribe's reed stylus is still pressing marks into clay. Somewhere beneath water, a sleeping stone city rests under blue silence. All of these places, all of these times are connected by the same slow truth. The world changes, but it does not rush. The thought is a balm for the modern mind, because so much of your life has been measured by urgency, alarms, notifications, deadlines, meetings stacked like stones. Your nervous system has learned to live on alert, to run ahead of itself, to anticipate. But here, under this sky, your nervous system is allowed to borrow the planet's pace. Slow, steady, returning, you stand and look out over the plain. Far away, the horizon looks like a dark wave frozen in place. Above it, the stars feel colder, but not unfriendly. They are simply distant, reminding you that your small struggles are not the whole story. Sometimes that distance can feel lonely, but tonight it feels like relief, because it means you do not have to be the main character of everything. You do not have to manage the universe with your mind. You can be one warm, breathing creature under a sky that knows how to keep going. The pillar casts a thin shadow. The shadow points in a certain direction like a quiet compass. You follow it, not walking far, only enough to see that it leads to another marker, then another, spaced out across the plain. A line, a gentle alignment. Not to declare power, but to keep memory. These markers are like the wedge marks on clay, enlarged into stone. The same impulse to leave a trace that says, we noticed the pattern, and the pattern calmed us. As you stand among these quiet pillars, you feel the soft discovery of this part of the story. Even the sky's changes are slow enough to be restful. Even the earth's wobble is gentle. Even the vastness is patient. And if the universe can move without panic, maybe you can too. Maybe you can allow your thoughts to move through you without grabbing them. Maybe you can let them drift like clouds across the bowl of water, passing, changing shape, dissolving. The plain grows quieter. The pillars seem to fade slightly, as dreams do when they begin to fold into sleep. The bowl of water becomes darker. The stars above become softer, less distinct, as if your mind is gently dimming the lights. Before the scene fades completely, you remember the question from earlier, and it lands in you again, simple, tender. When you hear about the cycle of history, decay, bloom, rebirth, do you believe time is more like a circle or a river? Here, under the pillars, it feels like both. A circle within a river. A spiral carried by current, a tide that returns while still moving forward. You don't have to choose. The world is wide enough for more than one shape. The dream begins to loosen, and you feel yourself drifting back toward the hut, back toward the lamp, back toward the sea's steady hush. The older woman is asleep now. The net mender's breathing is deep. The shells by the door click once, softly, like a final note of music. You lie down, or you settle deeper into wherever you are listening from, and you let your eyes close fully. One breath in, and a longer breath out. If this part of the story gave you calm, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself when you wake. Something small, something kind. For now, the pillars of the sky stand in your mind like quiet guardians. The earth tilts slowly. The night turns softly, and you are allowed to drift. When the dream of the pillars fades, it doesn't vanish all at once. It thins like mist lifting from water. First, the wide plain becomes a softer idea. Then the stone markers become pale silhouettes. Then even the bowl of water, the double sky reflection, turns into a feeling more than an image. And what remains is the simplest thing of all, your breath, in and out. The hut is still there around you, whether you imagine it or whether you simply feel it as a warm, safe space. The lamp is low, steady. The sea continues, a distant hush that never demands your attention but always offers it. Somewhere in the night, a faint creak of reeds. a small click of shells, a soft movement of cloth as someone shifts in sleep. The older woman is resting now, her hands finally still. The net mender's chest rises and falls with a deep rhythm. The wooden box of gears is closed, tucked away like a sleeping secret, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. And in the slow quiet of this moment, your mind drifts again. This time, not outward, but inward. Not toward the sea or the sky, but toward the place inside you where memory lives, because even now, while your body is safe and still, your mind is doing something ancient. It is sorting the day. It is filing feelings into quiet drawers. It is trying to decide what matters enough to keep. And it is doing it in the same way those old scribes did, gently, one mark at a time. You can picture the river city again, far inland, where the air smelled of warm mud and oil lamps, the canal water sliding along brick, the ziggurat standing like a patient hill beneath stars. Inside a small room, a scribe sits at a low table. Press, lift, press, lift. A reed stylus touches damp clay. Wedge marks appear, tiny and steady. The sound is soft and it smooths the mind the way a lullaby smooths a child's breath. Tonight, in this story, you have followed water from marsh to sea. You have looked up at stars and down into sleeping stone. You have sat by a fire and listened to old voices speak in gentle spirals. You have held the idea of time, not as a whip, but as a tide. And now you return to the scribe, not to restart, but to rest deeper. The scribe is working on something different tonight, not barley, not sheep. A list of names, small names, ordinary names, the kind that never appear in grand monuments but make up the true fabric of a world. A canal worker, a potter, a woman who wove reed mats, a child who carried water jars, a night watchman who listened to dogs barking at the edge of darkness, names like Pebbles, quiet, specific, real. The scribe's lamp gives a warm circle of light. Outside the circle, the world is shadow and hush. Inside the circle, each name becomes a small lantern. If you have ever felt invisible in your own busy life, one more worker, one more parent, one more person holding everything together, this part of the story is for you, because history is not only kings and battles, history is also you. The scribe dips the stylus into a bowl of water, then returns to the clay. Press, lift, press, lift. As the names appear, you begin to sense why writing was so powerful, not because it made people famous, but because it made them remembered. A name in clay is a gentle form of immortality. Not loud, not dramatic, just a trace that says, this person existed and their life mattered enough to be held. You might think of your own name now not as a label for productivity, but as a warm sound, something that belongs to you, even when you are tired, even when you are not performing, even when you are simply breathing in a dark room. The scribe finishes one tablet, sets it aside, and reaches for another. The clay is cool, damp, ready. The scribe's hands are careful, as if they know the clay is not only material, it is time made touchable. And then the scribe pauses. Not because something is wrong, because the night has brought a visitor. A traveler steps into the lamp's glow, quietly, respectfully. Their clothes smell faintly of salt and smoke, as if they have come from the coast. Their eyes carry the calm of someone who has watched tides for a long time. They carry a small bundle wrapped in cloth. The scribe looks up, nods, and makes room on the table. The traveler unwraps the cloth, revealing a simple object. A shell. Smooth, pale, curved like a crescent moon. On its surface is a carved mark, minimal and gentle, a wave-like line, a dot, a small arc. The traveler says nothing at first. The scribe doesn't demand an explanation. In this world, some things are understood slowly. The scribe lifts the shell, turns it in the lamplight, and then, very carefully, presses its mark into the edge of a new clay tablet, not as decoration, as a sign, a bridge, water, sea. The traveler then places a second object beside the shell, a piece of bronze with fine teeth along one curved edge. Not the whole device, not the whole story, just enough to hint at it. The scribe's eyes soften with the same quiet wonder you felt earlier. The scribe does not react like someone discovering a secret to win an argument. The scribe reacts like someone recognizing a familiar need, the need to count, to notice, to feel held by pattern. The traveler finally speaks, voice low, as if they are careful not to wake the night. From the coast, the traveler says, people speak of stones beneath water, rooms that sleep under blue, walls covered in green, a city that rests. The scribe listens without fear. The scribe nods the way you nod when someone tells you a story that might be true, might be legend, but is meaningful either way. Then the traveler adds, almost like an afterthought, and some sailors, some divers, they found bronze teeth in a wreck. A little box once held the sky in its turning. The scribe holds the bronze fragment close to the lamp, letting it glow softly. For a moment, the teeth look like tiny steps, tiny wedges, tiny marks, writing and gears, clay and bronze, two languages for the same human tenderness, to keep time from feeling like an enemy. The scribe sets the fragment down gently, then with the reed stylus begins to write a new line. Not a list, not a calculation, just a sentence that feels like a lullaby pressed into earth. The water returns. Simple, true, quiet. And as the scribe writes it, you feel a soft discovery in your own body. Your nervous system can return to. It can return to calm. It can return to stillness. It can return to the feeling of being safe in the present moment, even if the day was hard. The traveler sits, warming their hands near the lamp. The scribe continues, and the night deepens beyond the walls. Outside, the canal water slides by, carrying moonlight. Somewhere beyond the city, the marsh breathes. Somewhere farther still, the sea inhales and exhales. And above everything, always above, the sky turns slowly. So slowly, it feels like kindness. In this gentle room, the scribe asks the traveler a quiet question, the kind that doesn't demand a perfect answer. When you travel, the scribe says, do you feel time as a road or as water? The traveler smiles a little. Both, they answer. A road through water, a river that remembers. You can let that answer rest inside you. Because if you are the kind of person who lies awake, replaying old conversations, old mistakes, old worries, then perhaps your mind is doing what minds have always done, trying to remember the path, trying to keep you safe, trying to make meaning. But tonight, the story offers a gentler practice. You don't have to replay everything. You can press one soft mark into the clay of this moment. I am here. I am breathing. I am safe enough to rest. Press. Lift. The scribe sets down the stylus. The traveler's eyelids grow heavy. The lamp is lower now, the flame smaller but still warm, and you feel the story's focus widening like the camera in a slow film pulling back. The little room becomes a small pool of light in the dark city. The city becomes a quiet cluster beside the river. The river becomes a shining line through land. The land becomes a darker shape beneath stars. This is the part where many people, when they think of deep time, feel small in a way that scares them. But tonight you can feel small in a way that comforts you. Small enough that you don't have to be in charge of everything. Small enough that you can let the world keep turning without your constant attention. Small enough that sleep can come without you having to earn it. And if tonight's story has reminded you of a beautiful memory, maybe a childhood night by water, maybe the quiet of a late drive, maybe the sound of rain, feel free to share it below when you're ready. Your memory might be a soft lantern for someone else. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Before the scene fades, the scribe makes one final mark on the tablet, small, almost invisible, like a dot of ink, a sign of completion. Then the scribe places the tablet on a shelf among others, a library of quiet nights, a proof that even ordinary lives can be held. And as the lamp's flame leans lower, you feel yourself leaning too, toward the edge of sleep. One slow breath in, one long breath out. Let the day loosen. Let the mind soften. Let time become water again. In the hut by the sea, the lamp is nearly finished with its work. Its flame is small now, as if it has curled itself into a tighter circle, saving warmth for the last soft minutes of night. Outside, the tide keeps arriving and leaving. Inside, the net mender and the older woman breathe in the slow language of sleep. And you, somewhere between story and dream, begin to drift into another place again. Not far, not fast, just gently, the way a thought slides into a memory. You find yourself standing in a long hallway where the air is cool and still. The floor is smooth beneath your feet. The lights are low, nothing bright, nothing sharp, only a dim glow that makes the world feel safe, like a nightlight in a quiet room. It is a museum, but not the busy kind with chatter and school groups and hurried footsteps. This museum is after midnight, when the doors are locked, when the guards walk slowly, when the building itself seems to breathe. Somewhere far away, an air vent sighs. A faint hum of electricity runs through the walls. Everything else is silence, clean, soft, and spacious. You walk without hurry. Your steps make almost no sound. Even the echoes seem tired. Along the walls, glass cases rest like calm pools. Inside them, objects lie in their own quiet, held by padded stands and gentle light. A clay tablet sits in one case, small enough to fit in two hands. Its surface is covered in wedge marks, cuneiform, pressed by a reed stylus thousands of years ago. The clay is baked hard now, but in your mind you can still feel it damp, still pliable, still warm from the lamp's circle of light. You lean closer, and the marks begin to look less like writing and more like texture. Tiny angles, small decisions, a rhythm made visible. Press, lift, press, lift. If you listen, you can almost hear it again, the soft scratch of reed on clay, the same sound that calmed you by the canal. It feels strange and comforting to find that sound inside a modern building with polished floors and quiet security lights. Time, you realize, is not always a distance. Sometimes it is a thin wall of glass. You move to the next case. There is a seal stone there, small and smooth, carved with a spiral. You remember the spiral in your palm by the fire. You remember the elder saying that time can feel like a spiral when you stop chasing it. Your thumb, in imagination, traces the carved line, inward, 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 then back outward again, a cycle but not a trap, a return but not a repetition of pain, a gentle coming back like tide to shore, like breath to body. Farther down the gallery, a low platform holds a fragment of bronze. The label is small, but you don't need to read it. You recognize the curved edge, the fine teeth, the quiet precision. A gear? A piece of a little box that once watched the sky. The bronze is darkened with age, but the teeth are still sharp, still orderly. You imagine the nested wheels turning slowly, passing motion along like a whispered message. One turns, another answers. One breath, another breath, in and out. A guard passes at the far end of the hall. His flashlight beam moves across the floor like a slow moon. He does not speak. He is not startled by you. In this midnight museum, it feels as if everyone understands the same unspoken rule. The past is sleeping, and we must not wake it harshly. You continue. There is a map on the wall, faded colors, careful lines, showing rivers that once fed cities. Two lines run close together before meeting the sea. Tigris, Euphrates. You remember the marsh, the mist like a veil, the reeds whispering, the first warm mud underfoot. You remember how calm it felt to begin there, with water and wind, with the world slow enough for the heart to slow too. Now, under museum light, and the rivers are ink on paper, but you still feel them as a movement, a steady push, a long return. In another case, there is a simple clay jar, wide-bellied, cracked at the rim. Beside it, a reed basket. Beside that, a small lamp. Clay again, its mouth blackened by smoke. You stare at the lamp for a moment. It looks so ordinary, and yet it held so many nights. It warmed so many faces. It watched so many hands write and weave and mend. You think of the nights you have lived through, not the dramatic ones, not the ones you would put in a highlight reel, the ordinary nights, the tired nights, the nights you kept going anyway. You realize those nights are also history. They will not be displayed behind glass, but they exist. They shaped you. They deserve tenderness. If you want, you can let your shoulders drop a little more. You can let your breath become a little slower. No one is watching you here. No one is asking you to prove anything. This museum is not a test. It is a quiet shelter. You turn a corner, and the gallery changes. The ceiling becomes higher. The light becomes cooler. And at the center of the room is a long, shallow case holding something that looks like a stone floor. Not a whole floor, only a section preserved and framed. Rectangular blocks are lined carefully. The label says submerged site, but the words barely matter. Your mind fills in the rest. Blue water, soft green growth, fish passing like silver thoughts, a city sleeping under sea. You lean over the glass and imagine your palm hovering above those stones. You can almost feel the coolness rising. You can almost hear the underwater hush, the kind of silence that doesn't scare, only quiets. Here, in this room, you sense the story's soft truth again. Some things don't end loudly. Some things simply go to sleep. A city rests, a coastline shifts. A memory sinks, not gone, only covered, waiting. You step back and look around. The museum is full of resting places, resting stones, resting clay, resting bronze, and you realize you have come here for the same reason people once sat by the canal lamp and the sea lantern, to rest your mind inside something steady. At the far wall there is a bench. You sit. The bench is cool at first, then becomes familiar under your weight. You let your hands rest in your lap. You let your gaze soften. You listen. The building has its own quiet music, a distant hum, a soft click somewhere far away, the faintest creak of air moving through ducts. It feels like the music of the spheres, but translated into modern architecture, another kind of harmony you don't have to name. As above, so below. The phrase returns again, and it feels almost like a lullaby now. The museum above you is calm. Your body below you can be calm too. In and out. And then, as if the night itself is being kind, you notice something small. On the wall near the bench, a plaque carries a line written in simple words, an artist's translation of an ancient thought, not a warning, not a prophecy, just a quiet reminder. Everything returns in its season. You don't have to believe it as doctrine, you can hold it as comfort. If today felt heavy, tomorrow can be lighter. If this week felt crowded, another week can be quieter. If your mind has been running, it can learn again how to slow. A little farther on, a side door stands slightly open and you can see into a smaller room. A desk lamp glows there, low, softly. A curator's chair waits, empty. On the desk lies a notebook, pages filled with careful handwriting, notes about humidity, tiny cracks in clay, repairs made with patient hands. It feels tender to realize that even now, people are still tending the past the way you tend a tired friend. They do it quietly, they do it slowly, they do it so the objects can keep resting without breaking. You stay in the doorway for a moment and let that care move through you. If your mind has been harsh with you lately, you can borrow this gentleness. You can become your own curator tonight. Not fixing everything, just keeping the inner room steady. Just making the air inside you calm enough for healing. One breath in and one long breath out. And you remember the soft question that keeps returning through this journey. When history cycles, decay, bloom, rebirth, does your heart feel time as a circle or as a river? Either answer is welcome here. You stand from the bench and walk back toward the first gallery. As you pass the cuneiform tablet once more, you whisper a thought, not to the museum, not to anyone else, only to yourself. I don't have to solve the whole night. I only have to breathe through it. Press, lift. One mark, one breath, one gentle return. Before you leave the museum, you stop in front of a tall window. Outside, the city is asleep. Streetlights glow like distant lanterns. A few cars pass far away, their movement soft and brief. Above the buildings, the sky is still there, dark, wide, patient. The stars are faint in the city glow, but you can feel them anyway. You can feel the slow turning of the earth beneath your feet. You can feel the tide somewhere out beyond the streets, still arriving and leaving, and you remember with a quiet warmth that you belong to this. You are not separate from water and sky. You are not outside the pattern. You are within it. If this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself when you wake. And if you'd like more peaceful nighttime journeys, don't forget to subscribe. For now, let the museum lights dim in your mind. Let the glass cases become shadows. Let the objects return to their sleep, and let your breath be the last lantern you carry, in and out, slow, warm, safe. The museum after midnight begins to fade the way a candle fades, slowly, kindly, without any sudden darkness. The glass cases soften into silhouettes. The polished floors become a quiet sheen. The objects, clay, bronze, stone, return to their own resting places, as if the whole building is exhaling you back into the night. And then you are back where you truly are. Maybe you are in a bedroom in an American city where the day has been loud and bright, and the night is finally lowering its voice. Maybe you are on a couch with a soft blanket pulled up to your chest. Maybe you are in a room where streetlight slips through blinds, drawing pale lines across the wall like slow-moving waves. Wherever you are, the story meets you there. It does not ask you to travel farther. It does not ask you to work harder. It simply arrives like warm air near a lamp, and it stays close enough to be felt. The sea is not far from you now, even if you can't see it. The river is not far from you, even if you have never stood on its bank. Because water is not only a place, water is also a rhythm, steady, repeating, forgiving. Listen for it. There may be a quiet hum in your home, the refrigerator, the heater, the far-off city itself breathing. There may be a distant car passing like a slow comet of sound. There may be the smallest creak of the building settling, wood and metal relaxing into night. Let all of those sounds become part of the tide. They arrive, they pass, they arrive again, they pass again, in and out. And there is water here too, closer than you think. It runs through hidden pipes in the walls. A modern canal system you rarely notice until you hear a faucet turn in another room, or a toilet refill softly, or a radiator sigh. That water is older than your calendar. It has moved through clouds and rivers and oceans, through time so long it makes the mind feel quiet. Tonight it can remind you, the world knows how to circulate. The world knows how to return. If your room is very still, you might hear it. The faintest whisper of water pressure, the smallest murmur behind walls. It is not a loud sound, it is a background reassurance, like the sea heard from far away. You can imagine, if you like, that your room is a small boat, not a dramatic boat, not something fighting waves, just a simple, sturdy vessel drifting on a calm river of night. The river is made of minutes. Each minute comes gently, like water sliding along stone. Each minute leaves gently, like water turning a corner. And you do not have to steer every moment of it. If your mind tries to grab the day again, an email you forgot, a conversation you replay, a worry that returns like a familiar visitor, you can let it sit beside you without speaking. You don't have to throw it overboard. You can simply let the river carry it along, the way the river carries leaves and reeds, not judging, not stopping. Press, lift. The sound of the reed stylus returns, soft as a whisper. In your imagination, it is happening somewhere far away, a small lamp, a low table, a hand making wedge marks in damp clay. But you can also feel it happening inside you. A thought presses into you. A thought lifts away. A thought presses again. A thought lifts again. This is what the mind does. It writes, it records, it tries to keep you safe by remembering. Tonight, you can thank it quietly and let it rest. You can tell it without words. We do not need to solve the whole tablet tonight. We only need to breathe in, then out, in, all. If there is a clock in your room, its face is a circle, a small moon of numbers. Its hands travel around and around, returning to the same places, never getting angry, never rushing. Even if the ticking sometimes makes you aware of time, you can let the circle comfort you instead. A minute is a small circle. An hour is a wider circle. A day is a larger turning, and you are allowed to rest inside the turning. There is a soft discovery here, almost too gentle to call a discovery. The way you measure your night still carries the fingerprints of ancient hands. 60 seconds, 60 minutes, a quiet inheritance from the people who watched water and sky and decided to count in a way that could divide easily, like bread shared among friends. You don't have to think about it. You can simply feel it. Even your modern time has an ancient human warmth inside it. The story carries you back to the marsh for a moment, not as a beginning, but as a gentle circle closing. You see the mist again, thin as a veil. You hear the reeds again, whispering like brushes. You feel warm mud beneath your feet, not messy, not unpleasant, just alive, soft, honest. Somewhere in that marsh, a first step happened. A first mark in clay happened. A first decision to measure time happened. Not because the world demanded it, because the human heart loves a rhythm it can trust. You follow the marsh water to the canal. You follow the canal to the river. You follow the river to the sea. And now you notice something tender. The journey was never about distance. It was about tempo. From busy to slower, from slower to softer, from softer to open, from open to connected, from connected to calm, from calm to sleep. Even if you never say those words, your body already understands them. You can feel the shift in the way your chest rises. You can feel it in the way your shoulders sink. You can feel it in the gentle heaviness of your limbs. The night is doing its quiet work. If you have a glass of water nearby, on a nightstand, on a table, you can imagine it as a small basin in a scribe's room. The surface might hold a faint reflection, a ceiling light, a window, a sliver of street lamp. Even a modern glass can become a little bowl of sky, and if there is no glass, you can imagine one anyway. A cool, clear weight of water. A simple reminder, life keeps moving through cycles and you are part of the cycle too. Somewhere beyond your room, the sky is still turning. It turns without asking you to watch. It turns without needing you to approve. It turns with the same patience it has always had. And that patience can be borrowed. If you want, you can imagine a small wooden box on a table nearby. Inside it, bronze gears rest in darkness. They do not clatter, they do not demand attention, they simply exist, tiny circles made by careful hands, meant to follow larger circles in the heavens, as above, so below. The phrase now feels less like an idea and more like a soft blanket. Your breath is a small tide. Your heartbeat is a small drum. Your thoughts are small clouds. They can pass, and you remain, in and out. There is a moment in the deepening of night when everything seems to soften at once. The edges of furniture blur. The noise of the world thins. Even memory becomes less sharp, more like watercolor. This is the hour when sleep begins to feel possible, not forced, not earned, simply offered. In this hour, the story gives you another gentle discovery. You do not need certainty to be at peace. The scribe did not solve every mystery of the flood. The net mender did not know every secret of the sea. The maker of the bronze gears could not hold the whole universe in his hands. Only a small model, a small rhythm, a quiet gesture toward order. And still their lives were meaningful. Still their nights were warm. Still they rested. So if your mind is searching for a final answer, you can let it stop searching for tonight. You can let the question be a lantern you do not have to carry. Let it sit on the sand. Let it glow quietly on its own. When you hear about the cycle of history, decay, bloom, rebirth, do you believe time is more like a circle or a river? Maybe tonight you can let it be both. A river that curves, a circle that moves forward, a spiral that returns without trapping you. You are allowed to not decide. You are allowed to be human. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, maybe a night drive with the windows cracked, maybe the smell of rain on warm pavement, maybe the hush of a childhood home after everyone else fell asleep, you can keep that memory close. You can share it later if you want, or you can simply let it warm you from the inside the way a small lamp warms a room. Here, no one rests alone. Even if you are the only person awake in your home, you are part of a quiet community of listeners, people who, somewhere tonight, are letting a story carry them. Some are in apartments, some are in houses, some are traveling, some are tired in ways they can't explain. All of them, like you, are learning to return to calm. The tide outside the hut, somewhere in the story's world, keeps moving. The river inside the city keeps sliding past brick. The museum's objects keep resting behind glass. The stars keep shining, even if you can't see them through the city glow. And you now can let the last of your day loosen. If you want a simple practice, you can do it with the next few breaths, in and out, in and out, in and out. Nothing to prove, nothing to solve, only the quiet act of returning. The story begins to lower its voice even more. Sentences become softer, images become slower. The lamp's flame becomes a small, steady dot. The sea becomes a long, gentle hush. The sky becomes a wide, patient dark. And in that dark, sleep begins to feel like the most ancient thing of all. Not an escape, a return to the body, a return to the breath, a return to the quiet river inside your room. The night has carried you a long way, and yet you have not had to move. From the marsh where the reeds whispered, to the lamp room where clay remembered, to the shore where the tide breathed, to the museum where glass held sleeping objects. Each place has been a gentle room inside the same slow house of time. Now the house grows even quieter. In the hut by the sea, the lamp is almost finished. Its flame has become a small, steady seed of light, the kind that does not illuminate everything, only enough. The older woman sleeps with her hands relaxed at her sides, as if her fingers have finally stopped gripping the world. The net mender's breath rises and falls like the tide itself, patient, repeating, kind. Outside, the shoreline listens. A wave slides in, a wave slides out, no urgency, no argument, only return. If you are listening from your own room, you can let your awareness drift back to the simple comforts around you. The weight of the blanket, the softness of a pillow, the steady support beneath your body. Even the faint, ordinary sounds of a modern home, an air vent, a distant car, the subtle settling of walls, can become part of the same lullaby. Tonight, nothing needs to be fixed, nothing needs to be proven, nothing needs to be decided. And the story has been offering you a different kind of strength, the strength of soft attention, the strength of letting the mind loosen without forcing it, the strength of resting in the pattern instead of fighting it. In and out. In the hut, the older woman stirs just once, as if waking inside her own dream. She reaches toward the lamp and cups her palm near the flame, testing its warmth. Then she looks at the clay tablets lined on the shelf. Little rectangles of earth holding the quiet shape of thought. She chooses the newest one, the one still damp at the edges. On it are only a few marks, a wave sign, a crescent curve, and a simple spiral that begins and returns. Not a lecture, not a proclamation, a gentle sketch of what you have felt all night. Water, sky, return. She sets the tablet back in its place with care, the way you might set a book down when your eyes can no longer hold the page. Then she turns to the small wooden box. The box is closed, but it feels present anyway, like the idea of gears turning, like the memory of bronze teeth nested in patient circles. She rests her hand on the lid for a moment, not opening it, only acknowledging it. A quiet gratitude, because the box, like the tablet, is not here to demand understanding. It is here to offer companionship, to say that long before your own busy calendar, other hearts tried to make time feel less frightening. The older woman's gaze moves toward the doorway, where a thin line of moonlight falls across the sand outside. Beyond that line, the sea keeps moving, as if it is counting your breaths for you, in and out. The lamp flickers, and she finally reaches for it. But this is the moment that might feel like an ending, lamp going out, story closing, night becoming deeper. But it does not feel sad, it feels like completion, like the last page of a gentle book, like a door being pulled closed so the room can become warmer. Before she lowers the flame, she speaks one sentence, barely more than a whisper. The water returns. The words do not aim at drama, they aim at comfort, Water returns as tide, water returns as rain, water returns as breath, and you too can return again and again to a calmer place inside yourself. She pinches the flame and the lamp goes out. Not suddenly, not harshly, just softly, like a sigh. For a moment the hut is fully dark. Then the moonlight becomes enough. The darkness becomes friendly. The air becomes spacious. This is the kind of darkness sleep loves. In that friendly dark, the smallest sounds become gentle guides. You might hear the sea more clearly now. Its hush and lift, its hush and lift, like a giant breath that never tires. You might hear the faintest movement of reeds somewhere beyond the dunes, or the soft creak of wood settling as the hut relaxes into night. Even your own heartbeat becomes easier to notice, not as a worry, but as a steady drum you do not have to play. If a thought arrives, you can let it arrive the way a wave arrives. It touches the shore of your mind, leaves a glimmer, and then it goes back out. Nothing has to be held tightly. In the river city, far inland, the scribe is also lowering a lamp. The reed stylus is set down. The clay tablet is placed on a shelf, among others, quiet loaves of earth cooling into permanence. The scribe does not hurry. The scribe has learned a truth you can borrow tonight. There will always be another mark tomorrow, if tomorrow needs it. The scribe's room darkens, and in that darkness the canal outside continues to slide. It carries moonlight, then lets it go. It carries shadows of reeds, then lets them go. The water does not keep anything forever. It only carries and releases. And maybe you can practice the same kindness with yourself. Release the conversation you replay. Release the mistake you sharpen. Release the future you try to control, not forever, just for now. The museum too has gone quiet. Somewhere in a modern city, behind locked doors, the case is dim. Clay and bronze and stone rest under carefully controlled air, and the building becomes a sleeping shell of architecture. The guards walk slowly, and their footsteps are soft. Even the present learns to whisper when it is near the past. All these rooms, the hut, the scribe's lamp room, the midnight museum, share something simple. They are places where the mind can stop defending itself. They are places where the world says, without words, you are allowed to lay your armor down. Outside, the net mender steps into the sand and stands at the edge of the tide. He watches the water the way a person watches something they trust. Then he kneels and places a small shell on the wet sand, smooth, pale, curved like a moon. He does not throw it. He does not bury it. He simply sets it down like leaving a note for the morning. The next wave arrives and touches the shell, then retreats, leaving it cleaner, shining faintly. The net mender smiles, and the smile is quiet, as if he is remembering something you might want to remember too. Even when the world changes, it can do so gently. In the far distance, the sky holds its patient stars. You cannot see them all from every place, but they are there. The earth tilts in its slow, almost invisible way. The heavens shift by a fraction you will never feel in one lifetime, and yet the steadiness of that motion can calm a tired mind. If the universe can move without panic, you can let your thoughts move without panic too. A thought comes, a thought goes, in and out. If you would like a final picture to carry you into sleep, take this one. A river at night, dark and smooth, carrying moonlight in thin ribbons. A reed stylus pressing one last mark into clay. A bronze gear resting in a wooden box, waiting without hurry. A city beneath the sea, covered in drifting green, not haunted, only resting. A museum after midnight, glass cases dim, the past asleep behind them, A quiet room, your room, held by the simple miracle of breathing. All of it connected, of it calm. And if your mind returns to the day, emails, worries, unfinished tasks, you can let those things sit on the shore for tonight. Let the tide touch them lightly and pull back. Let them be there without pulling you into them. You are allowed to rest before you solve. You are allowed to sleep before you perfect. You are allowed to be human. When you hear about the cycle of history, decay, bloom, rebirth, do you believe time is more like a circle or a river? Maybe tonight you can let the answer be soft. Maybe time is a river that curves into a circle. Maybe time is a circle that drifts forward like a river. Maybe time is a spiral, always returning, always changing, always kind enough to make room for rest. Before we say goodbye to these images, you can take a slow tour through your own body, the way you might take a slow walk along a canal at night. Start with your forehead. Let it smooth as if warm water is passing over it. Let your eyebrows unclench. Let the tiny muscles around your eyes soften, the way a tired hand relaxes when it finally sets something down. Let your cheeks loosen. Let your jaw hang just a little heavier. Let your tongue rest, no longer trying to shape words. Now let your attention drift down your neck and into your shoulders. If they've been carrying the day like two loaded baskets, you can imagine setting those baskets on the ground. Feel the shoulders sink, even by a small amount. Let your arms grow pleasantly heavy, forearms, wrists, fingers, each one allowed to relax. Your hands do not have to hold anything tonight. Let your breath pass through the center of your chest like a slow tide. Not forced, not counted, simply steady, in and out. Let the belly soften, let the hips settle, let the legs become warm and quiet, thighs, knees, calves, ankles. Let the feet feel as if they are sinking gently into sand. If any part of you is still tense, you don't have to chase it. You can just offer it patience. Tension often leaves the way it arrived, gradually. And while your body settles, the story offers one last soft connection between your life and those old lives. They too were tired. They too listened for safety in small sounds, water against brick, wind in reeds, fire crackling low. They too found comfort in ordinary repetition. One mark after another, one knot after another, one wave after another. So if you've been feeling alone in your busyness, let this be the gentle truth. Your longing for rest is ancient and shared. Where are you listening from tonight? A city apartment, a quiet suburb, a hotel room, a parked car, a house where everyone else has already fallen asleep. Wherever it is, your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Now, when you're ready, we can let the lanterns fade. We can let the shore become a whisper. We can let the river become a dream. And we can let sleep do what it does best, carry you without effort into peace. If this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself when you're ready. If tonight's journey warmed something in you, feel free to share a beautiful memory below. And if you'd like more peaceful nighttime journeys, don't forget to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story so this quiet corner of the night can find you again. Here, no one rests alone. Every listener is a small lantern. Every gentle story from the past is another soft light on the water. And if you wake for a moment later, remember, you can return here in a single breath. One inhale, one exhale, and the night will meet you again, kindly, like water, gently. Now let your breath become the only thing you follow, in and out, slow, even safe. Let your shoulders sink. Let your jaw loosen. Let your eyes stay closed. The tide will keep returning. The sky will keep turning. The world will keep going quietly without needing your attention. And you can drift, just like water, just like night, just like sleep.